As Chancellor of the University, I declare this congregation open for the conferring of degrees by the authority of the Senate and Council.
Degree ceremonies are unique occasions. They should generate for you, and I'm sure they will generate for you, happy memories that last forever. They are the product of hard work, but they're also the product of lots of fun. And if you've had anything while you've been in Leicester, I hope you've had lots of fun with us, intellectual fun as well as fun socially, meeting new people, achieving new things, being able to do things way outside the degree course that you never dreamt you'd be able to do. That's all part of the business of being at university. And this degree ceremony celebrates all of that and celebrates your intellectual achievement in gaining a degree from a leading British university. Many of you looked at prospectuses probably 4 years ago. Have we lived up to your expectations, I wonder? I certainly hope so. What kind of university are we today? First of all, we have 17,000 students. We are a large British university. 10% of our students are international, come from overseas. All our departments are research-led. That is, people who teach you over the years are the leaders in their fields. And that gets translated into high-quality teaching. Certainly, I'm delighted to say that in the last 2 years, all the teaching in the University of Leicester has been judged to be excellent. And the excellence is a judgment that is made by external assessors who visit us. Now, what about the composition of the student body? One of the things about the university is that we have equal numbers of undergraduate and postgraduate students, which I think makes for a really exciting mix in a university. A high proportion of our postgraduate students are studying by distance learning methods. But what about the faculty that is graduating this morning? What are the distinctive features of this particular faculty? If I were to tell you all of those, I'm afraid I'd use up too much time, so I've selected. In physics and astronomy, we are world-renowned. We are a leader in our field in the UK. We are very proud of the department and everything it does. Indeed, the reason the National Space Science Centre is located in the city of Leicester is because physics and astronomy has been strong in this university since the 1960s. Geology, this academic year, won a major award in a national competition which marked it out as the leader in a particular subfield. And then, for those of you who are into the world of supercomputing, I'm sure you will be as delighted as I am to know that we are in the top 100 universities in the world for supercomputing, and I think that's absolutely splendid. Many other things inform our teaching. Many departments offer postgraduate, undergraduate, and distance learning degrees. The opportunities to qualify with the University of Leicester are immense. So this means that this morning is not the end of your relationship with the University of Leicester, but I hope marks the beginning. One of the key concepts that governments have used worldwide is that of lifelong learning. We don't just treat it as a concept in the University of Leicester, we see it as a living reality in two ways. First of all, we have set up this year an Institute of Lifelong Learning whose aim is to assist with the development of professional courses that you can do alongside your career. And in turn, we have also set up a university-wide graduate school, given that some 8,500 of our students are postgraduates. So it gives you the opportunity to either link up with the Institute of Lifelong Learning or indeed to register for a postgraduate course through our graduate school. The opportunities to stay in contact with this university through academic study, through research and further development are immense. We also hope that you will stay in touch with us through our Alumni Association. And all of you automatically become members of the Leicester Graduates Association, so as to maintain good links with both the university and your departments. Certainly, I shall look forward to meeting you again, not only today, but also on many other occasions throughout your careers when you attend the Alumni Association. But today, as I've indicated, is celebration time. And that means that during the course of the ceremony, when each person is presented, everyone in the audience, and I do mean everyone, I encourage very strongly to applaud, because the other faculties in the last 2 days, they applaud, but, I'm sure, looking at all of you, parents, relatives, graduates, I'm sure you're really going to show us this morning what applause means. But I'm going to get the graduates to have a little bit of practice, because they've been through exams and they probably need a bit of applause practice. So what I want you to do is to say thank you very much to all the teachers, researchers, sponsors, relatives, family and friends who've helped to get you to this degree ceremony today. So let's give all of them a good round of applause. Certainly, I hope, and I can tell from that, you're going to enjoy celebrating this morning, and you've clearly set high standards for the celebration. It matches the high standards of the class, the graduating class of the year 2000 in this university. Over 3,000 people will have graduated by the end of this afternoon. Of those, 2,000 were registered for a classified degree at bachelor's level, and I'm delighted to say that of those, around 1,200 people this year have obtained first and upper second class honours degrees, taking standards even higher in this university. We are really proud of all 3,000 graduates, and I hope you have a super time today. Do enjoy yourselves, and I wish you every success in your future careers.
Our honorand, Professor Jules LaPidus, was born in Chicago, USA, where his parents ran what he calls a mom-and-pop shop. That is, a small business which family members all helped to run. In his case, this business was a pharmacy, complete with a soda fountain, and his contribution was mainly to deliver medications to the surrounding neighborhood. He recalls it was more or less expected that when he grew up, he would go to the university and continue the family tradition of pharmacy. This he did when he went to the University of Illinois to read for a Bachelor of Science degree. As someone who has a major interest in music, he played bassoon in the university orchestra. There he met a faculty advisor and biochemist by the name of Edward Smithson and was asked whether he would be interested in working in his laboratory. Jules LaPidus took the opportunity and came to very much enjoy working in the field of organic chemistry. In 1952, he was also worked for the Gliddens Company and researched with a top-notch group under the direction of a black chemist called Percy Julian. This was a time when black chemists were very uncommon in the USA. He recalls how this elite group's intellectual involvement and cohesion led to a strong identity which transcended all considerations of race and creed. Jules LaPidus graduated from the University of Illinois in 1954, but study was not over, as he registered for graduate work, first for a master's and then a PhD in medicinal chemistry at the University of Wisconsin. being mentored by Edward Smithsman, a man who had also, by coincidence, moved to become faculty member there. Smithsman's academic output was prolific, having supervised over 70 PhDs in a life cut short by a rare disease. This inspirational influence of graduate studies must have played a major part in shaping Professor LaPidus' future career, a career which began at Ohio State University, where he became assistant professor in 1958. Promoted to associate professor in 1963 and then to full professor of medicinal chemistry in 1967, he very much enjoyed this period of teaching and research. Indeed, he was to contribute more than 40 academic journal papers to the fields of medicinal chemistry and pharmacology over a relatively short period. However, he also became actively involved in two other aspects of university life. First, he worked at national level, reviewing graduate programs in medicinal chemistry in universities all over the USA. And secondly, he was a member of Ohio State University's Graduate Council, a body made up of elected faculty members and students drawn from diverse disciplines in the university. In America, such graduate schools are very common and develop policy and practice for matters relating to graduate studies within their universities. In the last few years, graduate schools have developed in the UK, and the University of Leicester is no exception, having recently decided to establish a single graduate school. For Professor LaPidus, the blend of conducting national reviews while seeing the day-to-day issues confronting the Graduate Council was to provide the impetus for a change in career. In 1972, a new post of Associate Dean for Research was created, and he was asked if he would accept it. He did, and found the task of coordinating the university's research very rewarding. 2 years later, he was appointed to two other posts, the Dean of the Graduate School and Vice Provost for Research. This made him the Ohio State University's principal officer, both for research and graduate issues. Within 10 years of such experience, he was appointed president of the Council of Graduate Schools, a national body in the United States which oversees and reviews practice in graduate education, develops memoranda of good practice, and makes policy recommendations at the highest political levels. In accepting this influential post, Professor LaPidus was to move in 1984 from Ohio to Washington. A move, he said, which was 420 miles by road, but 1,000,000 miles in the change of atmosphere. Washington is the hub of American constitutional life and policy making. It is therefore essential that representatives of the Council of Graduate Schools be available to attend congressional hearings to advise whenever the need arises. With the introduction of graduate schools to British universities, our Vice-Chancellor founded the UK Council for Graduate Education in 1993 and called upon Jules LaPidus to assist him. There is no doubt that Professor LaPidus had a significant influence on the development of that organisation. Similarly, when the Australians established their Deans of Graduate Schools, known as DOGS for short, Jules LaPidus was on hand to help. China, too, is looking at ways of setting up a body to take an overview of graduate studies and evaluate past and present practice and formulate future directions. Jules LaPidus will continue to be asked to help there and elsewhere worldwide. In his 16 years as president of the Council of Graduate Schools, Professor LaPidus has published extensively on the work that has been done. Among the intriguing titles of his influential texts are Déjà Vu, All Over Again, and If We Want Things to Stay As They Are, Things Will Have to Change. He has delivered numerous addresses on graduate studies and finds recently that therein he has been using the phrase looking through the corner of the eye. For physiological reasons, it is possible to see certain objects from the corner of the eye that cannot be detected while looking straight at them. Professor LaPidus considers that graduate studies can be like that. People become so focused on the specifics that they miss valuable outcomes which are only apparent when they look from a different viewpoint. Outcomes such as intellectual growth, scholarship, and skills in articulating argument. Professor LaPidus is a very significant figure in graduate studies worldwide. If a major meeting is to be held, then the cry goes out, Jules must be there. He has made a lasting contribution to the development of graduate studies within the USA. but he's also become a major influence internationally. It is a great pleasure to welcome him and to honor him here today. Mr. Chancellor, on the recommendation of Senate and the Council, I present Jules B. LaPidus, that you may confer upon him the honorary degree of Doctor of Laws.
It is my privilege to introduce to this degree congregation Tom McKillop, Chief Executive of AstraZeneca plc, the pharmaceuticals company, and Pro-Chancellor of this university. Tom McKillop was born in Scotland, the youngest of 5 children of a Scottish miner. His parents were committed to the benefits of education, and all the children were successful. Tom went to the University of Glasgow to study pure maths. At the end of his first year, he was recommended to do a double honours in maths and physics. But the physics department was, in his opinion, too regimented in its approach to students, and he rebelled, turning instead to chemistry, biochemistry, and physiology. He excelled at this. After his first 3 years, he won a scholarship as the top student in his year to spend 4 months over the summer vacation doing research at the University of Toronto before returning to complete his honours year in Glasgow. His first research publication came from this exciting time in Canada. He also excelled at all sports, playing senior rugby for the university. He learned to fly with the Officer Training Corps at the university and loved flying. He might have gone on to fighter pilot training rather than research. He had, however, missed his girlfriend, now Mrs. McKillop, while in Canada, and his girlfriend's father was in the RAF, and so would know well what life would be like as the wife of a pilot. Love of Elizabeth and of research beat a love of flying. So his first in his BSc was followed by a PhD. For this, he combined his mathematical skills with his chemistry, working on mathematical calculations of chemical reactivity. This was followed by research in Paris in the exciting times of 1968, and a likely return to an academic post, but for a conversation with Peter Doyle in the pub frequented by chemists in Glasgow. Tom had already accepted an academic post at Glasgow, had written half his lecture course, and secured a research grant from ICI. Peter Doyle, who was to become Director of Research and Development at ICI, suggested that only a fool would make a career choice without considering all the options. With these words ringing in his ears, Tom returned to France to finish up his work there. A few days later, tickets to England and an invitation to attend an interview at ICI arrived in the post. Tom went for the interview and was completely taken with the research environment at ICI. It was a heady mix of disciplines asking fundamental questions. The place was really buzzing. He accepted a post on the spot. This left the small matter of returning to explain to his wife that it would be Runcorn and not Glasgow where he would be working. To this day, he is teased about the absence of consultation on such an important step in his life. His work at ICI brought him into contact with our own Professor Brammer as he embarked on an investigation of the industrial opportunities which might emerge from the new biology, which was beginning to look at the way genes worked and could be manipulated. He moved to the pharmaceuticals division. I would single out just a couple of examples of the achievements of his group. It was the first to synthesize a gene which resulted in the development of the drug interferon. He also helped to research other new cancer-combating drugs, including those targeting prostate cancer, the disease of which his father had died. These were major advances which were technically very difficult to achieve. Having worked on the research into these and other drugs, he moved into development and subsequently into management. He is now Chief Executive Officer of AstraZeneca, the global pharmaceutical company whose work involves research and development into new drugs to help in the treatment of serious life-threatening illnesses. The company has a passionate belief in innovation, described by Tom as the signal contribution men and women can make when they apply their brains and hands to wealth creation in the material, scientific, social, and cultural sense. For him, education has a profound impact on our capacity for innovation. The company's commitment to innovation is reflected in its work with schools to excite young people about science. One example is AstraZeneca's School Science Teachers Trust Fund, which has put £20 million into teacher training and the sponsorship of academic programs. Despite achievements to date, Tom describes the current time as the most exciting ever in medical science. The completion of the Human Genome Project and other developments in biological sciences, coupled with the power of modern computers, means that there are new tools to use in the development of new medicines which offer the hope of alleviating and curing serious illness. The university recognizes today a distinguished career as a research scientist and as the leader of one of the world's top pharmaceutical companies. He is a man of vision who thinks imaginatively and globally. Perhaps because he only needs 5 hours sleep a night, he has also managed to find time to serve this university as one of its pro-chancellors. Mr. Chancellor, on the recommendation of the Senate and the Council, I present to you Thomas Fulton Wilson McKillop, that you may confer upon him the honorary degree of Doctor of Science.
I give you the degree of Doctor of Science. Congratulations. Very much. Yeah.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being with you today, and I'm responding on behalf of Tom McKillop and myself and saying we're deeply honored by this recognition by the University of Leicester. And also we're deeply honored to be here today sharing with you this academic ceremony that celebrates not only the continuity of science and scholarship, but certainly the future of science and scholarship, because that basically is represented by the students graduating here today. In 1939, the poet Edna St. Vincent Millay wrote the following lines. Upon this gifted age, in its dark hour, falls from the sky a meteoric shower of facts. They lie unquestioned, uncombined. Wisdom enough to leach us of our ill is daily spun, but there exists no loom to weave it into fabric. Today, we're seeing the weavers who will discover that loom and help us make sense out of that array of facts that we're beset with today. Thank you.
The graduands in the Faculty of Science will be presented by the Dean, Professor Light. Will all graduands in the faculty please stand?
Mr. Chancellor, I ask you to admit these candidates from the Faculty of Science to the several degrees for which they are presented.
graduands of the Faculty of Science, by the authority of the Senate, I admit you to the several degrees which you are presented.
For the degree of Doctor of Science, Peter Skelton. For the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, Alison Bearder. Matthew Bearder. Matthew Bearder. Mark Brown. Claire Burton. Simon Clark. Philip Devine. Paul Doby. Kevin Edmonds. Gareth Griffiths. David Holt. Deborah Jones. Gary Mallon. Christopher Meads. Fu Wa Poon. Ian Ridley. Mervyn Roy. Christopher Rudge. Jonathan Story. Jane Washington Evans. Yu Shu. For the degree of Master of Science, Chi Kit Wu. For the degree of Master of Science in Museum Studies, Maria Creaney. Catherine Painter. Ling Ai Wu. For the degree of Master of Chemistry in Chemistry, Carolyn Ackroyd. David Burnley. Timothy Duck. Claire Evans. Sarah Lowe. Claire Rosser. For the degree of Master of Chemistry in Chemistry USA, Christopher Davies. Nicola Durling. Toby Reeve. Naomi Roper. For the degree of Master of Engineering, Electrical and Electronic, Anita Boardman. Martin Butcher. Stephen Lister. Jonathan Starkey. For the degree of Master of Engineering, Electronic and Software, Kester Dampney. Neil Haywood. James Trotman. For the degree of Master of Geology in Geology, Lucy Bishop. Matthew Bonner. Michael Cotton. James Duggleby. James Dunnett. Neil Griffiths. Andrew King. Karen Little. Andrew Richards. Andrew Wilson. For the degree of Master of Geology in Applied Geology, Charan Bogal. Colin Chapman. For the degree of Master of Geology in Geophysics, Geological, Duncan Ansell. Lee Bailey. Helen Basford. Christopher Purcell. For the degree of Master of Mathematics in Mathematics, Robert Brownlee. David Hunt. For the degree of Master of Mathematics in Mathematics / USA, Mary Ellen Flynn. Grisheka Loughton. Kieran Redford. For the degree of Master of Physics in Physics, Deborah Brown. Mark Everard. Michael Hill. For the degree of Master of Physics in Physics with Astrophysics, Timothy Adams. Lisa Badley. Neil Goddard. Simon Good. Anthony Hawkins. Christopher Martin. Kim Page. Sinead Quinn. Munhoi Wong. For the degree of Master of Physics in Physics with Astrophysics, Europe, Owen Matthews. For the degree of Master of Physics in Physics with Space Science and Technology, Michael Earle. Jessica Hall. Alexander King. Glenn Marshall. William Marshall. Christopher Mountford. Nigel Richards. For the degree of Bachelor of Science in Archaeology, Simon Britt. Catherine Brooke. Jason Clark. Trudy Cole. Lucy Franklin. Richard Jones. Timothy Lancashire. Martin Rowe. Simon Underdown. For the degree of Bachelor of Science in Biological Chemistry, Claire Gwilliam. Julie Hawkes. Claire Newland. Oludaisy Ojuri. Claire Tilsley. Adam Trigg. For the degree of Bachelor of Science in Chemistry, Sajida Ahmed. Saeed Ahmed. James Bezick. Natalie Carruthers. Ben Collins. Andrew Cooley. Stuart Donald. Wayne Eltringham. James Griffiths. Pardeep Guram. Robert Haig. Lynette Haynes. Richard Howells. Richard Johnson. Sukhvinder Kandola. Joanne Kite. Sotirios Kotlis. Richard Mills. David Sharp. Gary Stimpson. Rachel Turner. Anthony Wood. For the degree of Bachelor of Science in Chemistry, Sandwich, Robert Clarkson. Joanna Giles. For the degree of Bachelor of Science in Chemistry, USA, Tito Akindele. Gareth Arnold. Brian Hyman. For the degree of Bachelor of Science in Computer Science, Dimitrios Andreou. Paul Belenkin. Parminder Birdie. Andrew Brown. Stephen Burry. Alexander Capuro. Fred Chapman. Lee Chiswell. Paul Clues. Satvir Gill. Thomas Greenwood. Meret Habtiab. Richard Haydock. Darrell Jennings. Chanjit Jeeta. Masood Khan. Wai Ting Lee. Richard Munn. David Osborne. Jasreet Pandal. Anish Pandya. Tim Pickles. Baljit Smara. Christian Spörer. James Steer. Torben Stones. Barvish Thakrar. David Trencher. Alireza Valji.
Congratulations.
Gavin Wallace. Neil Walters. Nigel Wynne.
Congratulations.
Mr. Vice-Chancellor, for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Geography, Ria Al-Mansour. Ian Ashworth. Michael Barton. Michael Byrne. Laura Connolly. Martin Cook. Rebecca Cook. Lisa Cunningham. Anthony Davis. Owen Davis. Nancy Desforge. Christopher Gardner. James Gates. Alex Gilman. Robert Godfrey. Ross Hamilton. James Haywood. Andrew Ismay. Sarah Kenny. Sarah Kirkman. Hilary Lockwood. Steve Marshall. Jennifer McLaughlin. Richard Norman. Demelza Potter. Richard Rees. Mark Reed. Peter Rogers. Danny Thompson. Christopher Ward. Ruth Wilkinson. Ben Williams. For the degree of Bachelor of Science in Geography and Archaeology, Sarah Deacon. Derek Facer. Claire Jones. Peter Milcoy. Clive Sanders. Zoe Sanderson. Pierrette Simpson. Tom Studman. Richard Sykes. Sarah Thursfield. Henry Vorton. For the degree of Bachelor of Science in Geology, Elizabeth Barney. James Bateman. Andrew Bayliss. Robin Beach. Alexandra Benson. Andrew Burdett. Peter Chester. Timothy Cousins. Christopher Dixon. Rosalind Elliott. Donna Evans. Sebastian Foote. Gavin Hampson. Katie Hayday. Justine Hope. David Holtz. James Lewis. Andrew Lord. Sarah Milburn. Namisha Mistry. Howell Morris. Lindsay O'Brien. Lisa O'Brien. Peter Plumpton. Philip Riley. Sukhjinder Singh,
Congratulations.
Claire Taylor,
Congratulations.
James Towns,
Congratulations.
Stephen Tucker,
Congratulations.
Denver Willis,
Congratulations.
Amelia Wright.
Congratulations.
For the degree of Bachelor of Science in Applied Geology, Robert Ainsworth,
Congratulations.
Stuart Cameron,
Congratulations.
Stephen Holt,
Congratulations.
Brinley Kelleher,
Congratulations.
Jonathan Mann,
Congratulations.
Daniel O'Brien,
Congratulations.
Owen Roberts,
Congratulations.
Michael Rose,
Congratulations.
Nicholas Sy,
Congratulations.
Giles Somerville,
Congratulations. Yes.
James Woodier.
Congratulations.
For the degree of Bachelor of Science in Geophysics, Geological, Andrew Tewkesbury,
Congratulations.
Matthew Thomas,
Congratulations.
Jonathan Turner.
Congratulations.
For the degree of Bachelor of Science in Mathematics, Amtiaz Ali,
Congratulations.
Emma Aslett,
Congratulations.
Francis Clifton,
Congratulations.
Rachel Cundy,
Congratulations.
Michelle Giblin,
Well done.
Harmy Gill,
Congratulations.
James Hunter,
Congratulations.
Gareth Jones,
Well done.
Irene Lau,
Congratulations.
James Lester,
Well done.
Thomas Lewis,
Congratulations.
Stephen Long,
Congratulations.
Catherine Lowe,
Congratulations.
Victoria Mullerin,
Congratulations.
James Newbold,
Well done.
Irfan Omaji,
Well done.
Tara O'Neill,
Congratulations.
Pritesh Patel,
Congratulations.
Timothy Riley,
Well done.
David Searle,
Well done.
Emma Stevenson,
Congratulations.
Lucy Stringer,
Well done.
Alexa Taylor,
Congratulations.
Edward Taylor,
Very good. Congratulations.
Anne Tsang,
Congratulations.
Mark Winch.
Congratulations.
For the degree of Bachelor of Science in Mathematics USA, Jennifer Bishop.
Congratulations.
For the degree of Bachelor of Science in Mathematics with Astronomy Europe, Megan Bulford.
Congratulations.
For the degree of Bachelor of Science in Mathematics and Computer Science, Meng Tsao.
Congratulations.
Catherine Goff,
Congratulations.
Ashi Koch,
Congratulations.
Michael Laheath,
Well done. Congratulations.
Kalpana Patel,
Congratulations.
Jeff Sham,
Congratulations.
Paul Thomas. For the degree of Bachelor of Science in Physics, Paul Charnock,
Congratulations.
Ashish Sharma,
Congratulations.
David Spinks, Michael Waters, Stuart Wood.
Well done.
For the degree of Bachelor of Science in Physics with Astrophysics, Stuart Bozier, Paul Clinch,
Well done.
Oliver Fletcher,
Well done.
Nicola Kent,
Well done.
Anthony Perrott,
Congratulations.
Chris Perry, Andrew Taylor, Ruth Watson. For the degree of Bachelor of Science in Physics with Space Science and Technology, Ian Anderson. David Candlish, Sarah Dubali, Michael Glascott, Philip Hay, Lisa Hayes, Alan James, Dafford James, James Kelch, Thomas McNaught, Christina Migola, David Murphy, Richard Owen, Jay Ramsey, Mark Richardson, Peter Riley, Edmund Trollope, Vicky Walsh, Philip Wortley, Matthew Wilde. For the degree of Bachelor of Science in Physics with Medical Physics, Carly Durrans, Richard Robertson. For the degree of Bachelor of Engineering, General Robert King. For the degree of Bachelor of Engineering, Electrical and Electronic, Mohammed Ajur. Tiruchelvam and Japan. Kao Siang Chai. Han Boon Chan. Wei Chung Cheng. Hui Leong Chion. Kang Leong Chao. Jeremy Fu. Telvin Go. Rachel Gorman. Simon Howard. Gay Chiang Hua. Christos Kitsos. Kai Ling Lee. Hui Ling Lee. Sei Chiang Lee. Winston Lim. Xu Xian Lu. Chi Seong Ong. Verendran Paramasivam. Xiang Jit Fu. David Fu. Shalian Sathivelu. Francis C. B. Tech Sim. Huang Lip Sim. Eugene Sim. Joseph Tan. Tiong Ying Tay. Lai Cheong Yung. For the degree of Bachelor of Engineering, Electrical and Electronic with Industry, Tim Butcher. Nicholas Hunt. For the degree of Bachelor of Engineering, Electronic and Software, Marina Abdul Rahim. Aaron Ataidi. Devaraj Ayevu. Samuel Board. Dwayne Burgess. Boon Hui Cha. Stephen Ford. Amar Hassan. Marios Kalnis.
Well done.
Leif Langley,
Well done.
Matthew Leeson,
Well done.
Kai Yu Lin,
Well done.
James Neo,
Well done.
Olufun Milayao Adufanya, Bukanola Osinowo,
Well done.
Chu Ching Tan.
Congratulations.
For the degree of Bachelor of Engineering, Electronic and Software with Industry, Christopher D'Souza.
Well done.
Stephen Dugan. Andrew Jeffrey.
Well done.
For the degree of Bachelor of Engineering, Mechanical, Anthony Allen.
Well done.
Halim Alwi.
Well done.
Michael Bedard.
Well done.
Ching Hong Chan.
Well done.
Raymond Chin.
Well done.
Simon Crosby.
Well done.
Amarjit Dobb.
Well done.
Richard Durrant.
Well done.
Wee Chung Air.
Congratulations.
Lee Fleming.
Well done.
Slang Yoon Fong.
Well done.
Ahmed Iqbal.
Well done.
Kei Kian Kuhn.
Congratulations.
Konstantinos Chrysaris.
Congratulations.
Karen Kudar.
Well done.
Nai Won Lai.
Well done.
Xiao Wei Lei.
Well done.
Weng Chuen Li.
Well done.
Huan Hua Liu.
Well done.
Sui Ling Lim.
Well done.
Yong Kyo Lim.
Well done.
Yu Liu.
Well done.
Stephen Locker.
Well done.
Alabode Makanjuola.
Well done.
Mauraj Mataru.
Well done.
Kuntesh Nagar. Richard Nayak Yoma.
Well done.
Victor O.
Well done.
Claire Pauling.
Well done.
Hugh Frey.
Well done.
Thomas Richley.
Well done.
Ben Wayne.
Well done.
Matthew Seppings.
Well done.
Sheikh Lukman Sheikh Abd Hamid.
Well done.
Goginda Singh.
Well done.
Hitesh Solanki.
Well done.
Eng Hoon Tan.
Well done.
Kok Chin Tan.
Congratulations.
Vincent Teo.
Well done.
Tik Wee Teo.
Well done.
Mark Thompson.
Well done.
Catherine Timmis.
Well done.
For the degree of Bachelor of Engineering, Mechanical with Industry, Nicholas Allen.
Well done.
Matthew Burnley.
Well done.
Patrick Busby.
Well done.
Patrick Smith.
Well done.
Richard Thomas.
Well done.
Mr. Vice-Chancellor, I ask you to admit to the several degrees for which they are presented by my faculty those candidates who are absent.
By the authority of the Senate, I admit those candidates who are absent to the several degrees for which they are presented.
Let me begin by congratulating our honorary graduates. Their presence here today emphasizes the continuity of learning, the fact that what you learn at university is just the first step on a long process in life where you put to use in one way or another all that you've learned. Our honorary graduates provide role models to which you can aspire, and I'm sure that several decades from now, some of the younger members of the audience will be back in a more senior capacity. But this graduation is primarily for the benefit of the junior members who have worked so hard to earn their degrees. For you, this is a great occasion, one for us all to celebrate. I know that many of you have relatives and friends here to support you, and we've heard a lot of support this morning. And they also deserve congratulations for their contribution in helping you along. And finally, we should not forget your teachers, many of whom are also here, since they will have been delighted and perhaps surprised that their efforts have been successful in seeing you through. In welcoming you all, let me give a special welcome to those of you who have come from abroad, perhaps visiting Leicester for the first time. We are very pleased that you made the effort to come, and we hope that you've enjoyed the occasion. We all know that we are living in an era of rapid change. The world scene has been radically transformed in the past decades. The great political and military divide, symbolized by the Berlin Wall, has gone. We live in a world which, while not exactly at peace, is no longer under the permanent threat of instant annihilation. Democracies are, on the whole, replacing dictatorships, and new parts of the world are developing into advanced economies. The scientific technological revolution is having a profound effect in a way which is only just being glimpsed. And young people graduating today will live in a quite different environment from their parents and grandparents. It is a more interesting but more complicated world. One can perhaps draw an analogy here, which will be appreciated by this audience in particular, between the scientific and political spheres, and of course there is a link between the two. The modern scientific era began with the Newtonian view of the universe as governed by simple laws which in principle enabled one to predict the future in a methodical way. In the 20th century, this view has been transformed by things like quantum mechanics, with its famous uncertainty principle, and the theory of chaos, which shows that Newtonian prediction does not always apply in complex situations. Similarly, in the political world, the ideas of a simple, rational world run on utopian lines involving planned economies has been replaced by a more complex and diverse picture of reality. These great political and economic changes have had a major impact on the importance of education. We hear everywhere about the knowledge-based economy, where the secret of success lies not in raw materials or large factories, but in the trained intellectual resources of the country. So, around the world, the demand for education, and particularly higher education, has grown enormously. We see this here in Leicester, where the university has continued to expand at a rapid rate, as the Vice-Chancellor has reminded us. And while this is necessary and welcome, it does have a few practical drawbacks, one of which is the Chancellor has had to enlist the assistance of the Vice-Chancellor in handshaking at this ceremony. But let me assure all of you that whoever shakes your hand, your degree retains its full value. But what effects do all these changes in the outside world have on the individual student who is graduating here today? In former times, when society was more rigidly organized, the individual had little choice. Son followed in the father's occupation, and of course the daughter had even less choice. The future was predictable, but usually bleak. Now the situation is totally reversed. Barriers have broken down, there is a great deal of choice, which itself makes for difficulties, and there are vast opportunities. In return, we have more uncertainty. The future is less predictable, but at least we have hope. So for the individual, education has broadly three roles. It is first the gateway to opportunity. Without a good education, you'd have much less choice of possible avenues for the future. The training that universities provide is your entree to the modern world. But democratic societies require more than just a trained workforce. They require educated citizens who can make critical and informed judgments. In a world obsessed by publicity and propaganda, it is hard to distill the truth from the welter of pseudo-information that floods around us. A sound democracy can only flourish if its citizens can think clearly for themselves, not become passive absorbers of what the media, the government, and industry dish out for us. Finally, education should open the door to personal and intellectual fulfillment. We must not only think, but we must enjoy thinking. Universities are there to introduce us to the great thoughts and creations of the past, to enable us to participate in the culture of the present, and to help to pass it on to the next generation. The University of Leicester is proud of its contribution to your education and hopes that you will leave here with happy memories. We would like to keep in touch with you in the future, and since education is now a lifelong process, you may return here at some time in the future. You may also send your children, your students, or your friends here for their education. We will welcome them all. It remains for me to give you my best wishes for the future in your careers and to allow you to continue your celebrations with your friends and family. Thank you. And I declare this congregation closed.